Okay, testing 1, 2, 3. Let's see who's here. Let me know if you hear me, please. Immediately. Let me know if you hear me. See if this is working. All right, looks like it is. So welcome in, everyone. So where's everyone at? I'm not doing Delphi, so no one shows up. Good riddance. Appreciate that. Been trying to clean house for a few months now, so good to see everyone who is here. God bless you all. It's a beautiful Wednesday evening, May 29th, as of this date. May 29th is May 29th, but you may be watching this on another day. So welcome in, everyone. And hey, hope you're ready to watch a pretty nasty lady, pretty disgusting lady in my own personal opinion, and that's all it is. Cheers, everyone. I got my fresh, hot coffee. So yeah, I guess we're in for a treat tonight of 3 more painful hours of a pretty painful woman. And thanks for being here. This is the trial of Karen Reed, review of the Jen McCabe cross-exam, part 2. And I want to welcome all of you in. So before we get rolling here, let me say hello to those in the chat. If you're in the Lurker crew, please go ahead and join the chat. We like that. And you may like it too. And for any of you who have the ability, please share this and let others know that we are on live. So that's how we'll do this. And thanks everyone for being here once again. I want to thank Bonnie. Bonnie says, I'll see how long I last tonight. Well, hope you last a long time, Bonnie. All right. Kay West is in here. What's up, Kay West? And Bobby Smith. What's up, Bobby? All right. And Fur Baby Daddy, FBD. Hey, Prof. Bonnie, Kay West, back for round 2. Yeah, who's up for round 2? Let's do it. Have a relaxing evening and watch someone we never want to be in the same room with. But yes, there's Mr. Kay West and Bobby Smith here. All right, my friends here, and I see why. Icy, what's up? Good evening. Good evening to you. Hope you're doing okay. And yes, I am. I'm doing great today. It's been an amazing day. Guys, I wish I could tell you. I wish I could tell you all the things I'd love to tell you, but sometimes it's better to not. So, but it's been a great day, and thank you for being here. All right. Oh, yeah, there's Lambert. What's up, Lambert? Lambert Coe in the house. Hello, Prof and chat. Well, hello, Lambert. All right. I did 3 hours of the Mean Weird Tooth Lady last night. Yeah, well, you you got some more. You got some more Mean Tooth Lady. Okay, Weird Tooth, Mean Lady, however you want to say it. All right. Hey, Marianne Foster, welcome in. Welcome in, Marianne. All right, for baby daddy, Bobby Smith. Just like to talk about whatever's on the agenda. Well, yeah, buckle up because in the next week or two, you're going to be in for a ride. What's up, Zero Cool? Zero Cool says he's hitting like number 8. Yeah, everyone watching, please hit the like. We are at 24 viewers. Let's get to 24 likes at a minimum. Come on. All right. I look forward to your input too, Icy. What's up, Brittany? Brittany's in here. All right. What's up for round 2? This is quite a trial. These defense attorneys are my role models. I tell you, I mentioned that last night. They are incredible. I mean, it's to watch that guy go back, be so sharp, and go back at that unhinged woman. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty inspirational. He's a good at what he does. Expert. All right. I was a little worried, to be honest, Prof. I just noticed I can't find Rafi's channel. Not in my sub list or watch history. Wondering if his channel's still on. I don't know if something happened. I don't know, but you know he's not going anywhere. All right, y'all. Yeah, welcome in, Marianne. And hey, everyone else, if you're on the replay, do me a favor, hit the like, leave a comment, and send a super chat or super thanks. Support the channel. We need your support. Love your support. And your support goes a long way to keep me inspired because I tell you what, it's rough in these streets. And that's my commercial for tonight. So thanks, everyone, for being here. Let's get started. I'm going to sip my coffee and settle into my seat for this shit show we're about to endure. So let's go.
You are unmuted.
Hey, welcome in, Nancy Drew.
All persons have any business before the Honorable Beverly Canoni, Justice of the Norfolk Superior Court, and for the County of Norfolk. Draw near, give your attendance, and shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This court is now open. You may be seated.
Okay, you may be seated.
2117, the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. Can I have counsel identify themselves for the record?
Adam Lally for the Commonwealth. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Lally.
Good morning, Your Honor. Laura McLaughlin for the Commonwealth.
Ms. McLaughlin.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson on behalf of the street.
Good morning, Mr. Jackson.
Good morning, Your Honor. Elizabeth Little, also on behalf of the street.
Good morning, Ms. Little.
Good morning, Your Honor. David Giannetti for Karen Reed.
Good morning, Mr. Yannetti. Good morning, Ms. Reed. Good morning, jurors. So the county was kind enough to come in last night and make sure that the air conditioning was working. They were here late. They did a really terrific job, so I think everybody should be comfortable today. I do have to ask you those same 3 questions. Were you all able to follow the instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we left yesterday? Yes. Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Were you also able to refrain from doing any independent research or investigation into this case?
Yes.
Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we left yesterday?
No.
Everyone said no or shook their head.
Who believes
can we have Ms. Reed? Ms. Ms. McCabe, please.
solemnly swear the evidence you give the court and jury in the case and the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I did. All right, Mr. Jackson, whenever you...
I want to apologize in advance for all of you having to watch this witness tonight. I understand that she's intolerable, hard to endure, and generally disgusting all the way around. But unfortunately, sometimes you have to take one for the team. So God bless, cheers, and let's get started.
You were ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. McCabe, as a matter of housekeeping, I want to show you a quick set of documents that you saw yesterday, but I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same thing with the court's permission.
Same, Jim Page document she saw.
Oh, maybe we're going to start her off with some receipts so that
Can you
we'll
just
start
take
her
a
off
look at
with
that?
some receipts so she doesn't have to ask a million times today.
Set of documents that we talked about yesterday that included the group chats, for lack of better phrase.
Yes.
Okay. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I don't need to rush you.
That's good.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask that this set of group chats that have been authenticated be moved, marked and moved into evidence.
Is there any objection?
No, Your Honor.
May I approach?
Yes.
Exhibit 98 from the record.
Cover more than what you covered yesterday?
Exact same document, I just failed to do it yesterday, my fault.
All right. So is there still more? I'm just curious if my form's different then.
Yours should be the exact same.
Why don't I take a look at the exhibit, please? Why don't you come to sidebar, please?
All right, everyone. You guys getting yourself ready for some nasty ass attitude? For a little tude? You guys ready for a little tude? Get your bullshit waiters on. Gonna be in for a little tude this evening. What's up, Royal We? What's up? Come on in. Make yourself comfortable. We're just preparing ourselves for a truckload of bullshit. So let's get our faces ready to deal with the tude that we're about to have to endure. All right. You can read her like a Charles Clancy. Ugh. Wait, is it Charles? Whatever, the Clancy is trash. Okay, let's see. Tom, Charles? I don't know. Yeah, I said last night she has the permanent bitch face. You know, permanent bitch face. I'm sorry. They're going to say I'm
All
being.
right, so that will come into evidence, and jurors, sometimes I do have to repeat myself a bit, but this is, again, before you can consider any electronic communication in your deliberations, you must first find that it's more likely true than not that the person who authored or sent these messages was, in fact, the person identified as doing so. If you do not find that it's more likely true than not that the person who is identified as doing so was the person who authored or sent or transmitted the electronic communication, then you may not consider that electronic communication in your deliberations. So, all right, Mr. Jackson, go right ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. McCabe, you'll recall yesterday we talked about the 12 times in your grand jury transcript that you talked about statements that you attributed to my client. You remember that conversation?
Yes.
And in those dozen times, you never used the word or the words or the phrase, I hit him, correct?
Correct.
And your explanation for that was, well, I wasn't asked that specific question, correct?
Correct.
You were, in fact, on January 29th, let me rephrase that just a little bit. You did, in fact, on January 29th, seek to ask an officer to come back to 34 Fairview for the specific purpose of telling that officer something that you thought was important, correct?
Correct.
Which officer was that?
Michael Lank.
And about what time did you ask Officer Link to join you back at 34 Fairview?
I'm not sure. I know it was in the AM. I'm just not sure what time exactly.
Somewhere around 9 a.m., does that sound about right?
Possibly.
Okay, so this, literally, we're talking about just a couple of hours after the incident in question.
Correct.
Okay. Sergeant Lank came with Sergeant Gallagher, I believe, correct?
Correct.
Came back to the location at 34 Fairview and gave you an opportunity to provide whatever information you deemed relevant at that time to impart to him, correct?
Correct.
And isn't it true that at that time, you didn't tell Sergeant Lank that my client said, I hit him? What you said was that my client said, I hope I didn't hit him, correct?
No.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Incident report.
What's up, Fiend? Welcome in. Welcome in, Phoenix.
Is that the second to the last?
Welcome in.
Page?
Hey, it's pretty rough here, bro. This is a rough go watching this woman. But
Could you take a look at that report, just the face page, and tell me if that appears to be an incident report associated with this case? I know you didn't draft it, but you recognize that that's an incident report from the police, Canton Police specifically.
Yes.
Could you turn to the tab that's the little light blue tab, maybe 3 pages from the end of that report?
Yes.
I'd like you to read that paragraph to yourself, if you wouldn't mind, please. Do you have that in mind?
I do,
Okay,
yes.
may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. What you read just now appears to be a report of the incident in which Sergeant Lank came back to 34 Fairview to give you an opportunity to tell him whatever it was that you thought was important, correct?
Was that a full report or is that just an excerpt from it,
Well-
that paragraph?
That right there,
hold on. Just checking the receipts. Although I've already checked the receipts thoroughly, just asking, is this the actual receipt or are there more receipts to this receipt before I answer this question? Because, I always check receipts.
is a full report of that incident of Sergeant Lank going back to 34 Fairview. Would you agree?
Well, that's not a full report of what I said, but if that's his full report, it's his full report.
Okay. And in this report, what he writes that you said to him,
Objection.
The objection sustained.
isn't it true that what you actually told Sergeant Lank when he returned is that while driving around with her and Roberts looking for the victim, Miss Reed said something to the effect of, quote, I hope I didn't hit him, end quote. Isn't that what you told him?
Yes, because she said that when we were driving around.
And then you went on to say that, quote, she, Karen Reed, made these statements again at the scene when the victim was discovered, correct?
Correct.
And then you went on to say, she, Karen Reed, that you thought that Reed may have made these same statements in front of a police officer, but she was not sure, meaning you were not sure, correct?
I was not sure if she made what the police officers may have heard. That report is his recollection. My recollection is I told him that she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. And I told him that he should ask the responders if they heard that, because it was a great possibility that they heard it as well.
But none of that, you'll agree, you just read the report, none of that is in his report.
That's a very brief report.
I didn't ask you if it was brief, I asked you if it was in it, correct?
Correct.
And that's a report of a conversation.
All right. I said I'm not going to stop it a million times, but I guess I am. Again, did you catch that narrative steering where he asks a question that's in this direction and she says, no. I'm giving you my narrative, young man. She's a control freak. Okay, let's back it up a little.
Responders, if they heard that, because it was a great possibility that they heard it as well.
But none of that, you'll agree, you just read the report, none of that is in his report.
That's a very brief report.
I didn't ask you if it was brief, I asked you if it was in it, correct?
Correct?
And that's a report of a conversation that he had at 34 Fairview with you for the specific purpose of memorializing what you told him, correct?
Correct.
And what you told him, according to Sergeant Lank, is she said one phrase, "I hope I didn't hit him," correct?
That's what's in the report.
All right. And again, this was 2.5, 3 hours after the incident, not 2.5 years later, correct?
Correct.
Ms. McCabe, we talked yesterday about this unrecorded meeting that you had in front of Sergeant Lank's home on January 30th. Do you remember that conversation?
I remember the conversation, yes.
Have you had any other home visits with any other police officers involved in this case?
I went to drop off. It was not a visit. It was myself with Kerry Roberts dropping her daughter off. There was no involvement of Mike Lank on this day.
Have you been to the home, the personal residence of any other police officer involved in this case? Ever?
Yes.
Tell me who?
Kevin Albert.
Who else?
I went to Elizabeth Proctor, the wife of Michael Proctor's house.
Who does Elizabeth Proctor live with?
Michael Proctor.
So you actually went to Michael Proctor's personal residence, didn't you?
I did, yes.
That was in September of what year?
23.
Ooh, did you see how she downplayed that one? Did you see that? I went to Elizabeth Proctor's house. Oh, you mean Michael? You mean you went to Michael's house? The other cop. You're going to all these cops' houses who are all there and who you're all making the story up together.
I went over.
23.
Yes.
Why'd you go to Michael Proctor's house in September of 2023?
I met Elizabeth Proctor in approximately July or August of 2023. We are two mothers.
Oh, I said I wasn't going to do this, but damn it. Notice the look at the jury. This is what, now she's giving her narrative for the jury. This is for the jury. So she's making eye contact the minute she started to answer this. So let me back it up 10 seconds or something. Let's see. And I'm going to stop. I promise. I'll stop doing it.
Why'd you go to Michael Proctor's house in September of 2023?
I met Elizabeth Proctor in approximately July or August of 2023. We are two mothers that are being viciously terrorized and harassed by social media. Things that were stated in this courtroom and allegations that were made have torn our lives upside down. We receive hate letters saying that they hope things.
How about you don't try to cover up the murder of a police officer and you stop the pandering and you just tell the truth, and then no one on social media would be going after you for covering up the murder of a police officer and blaming it on some innocent woman who happens to be his girlfriend. Then you may not be the subject of consternation online, young lady.
Why? I know you want to give a narrative.
She gets to answer this, Mr. Jackson. The door's open.
Your Honor, if she could answer the question why she went to the house as opposed to the narrative behind her motivation.
It sounds to me like she's explaining why she went to the house.
Okay.
The door was open, Mr. Jackson.
Go ahead.
We receive letters, we receive emails, we receive calls. People drive by our house. There was a rolling rally outside of my house where people just screamed at us. They take pictures of our children. They took a picture of my daughter and put semen on it and said property of some named blogger that I think the defense is very familiar with. So that is why myself and Elizabeth Proctor got together. Michael Proctor was not home. We are two mothers trying to get through the unthinkable together.
So you were upset about the public outrage concerning your family's involvement in the death of John O'Keefe.
I was outraged because I am a state witness that is being tortured because of lies.
Because of public outrage concerning your family's involvement in the death of a police officer, correct?
No, it's a social media witch hunt.
Wow. Okay. This lawyer right here is badass. I mean, is everyone else not seeing what the majority of people are seeing? I mean, everyone is looking at this like it's a huge cover up and like the thin blue line is going to protect all the living officers at the expense of the dead officer and his girlfriend who's sitting over there, who's sitting on the other side of the courtroom. And so they want to put this girlfriend in prison for the rest of her life so that none of them have to deal with manslaughter or whatever it may be. I mean, it's pretty clear that the majority of people are looking at this and saying, you assholes are covering up the death of this police officer, and you're trying to blame it on Karen Reed, who appears to be just an innocent girlfriend. And you see how she tried to pull the state card to legitimize her position? Yes, you're a witness for the state, but it appears that the state is improperly prosecuting this defendant.
I see. So you decided that the best way for you to address that angst that you were feeling is to go to the lead investigator's home, personal home, in this case, correct?
I went to visit Elizabeth Proctor. Michael Proctor was not home.
So just like when you went to when you went to Sergeant Lank's house and the only person you met with was his wife, when you went to Michael Proctor's house, your claim is the only person you met with was his wife.
I personally did not
It's the Real Housewives of Boston.
go to Mike Lanks. It was not Jen going to Michael Lanks. It was Kerry Roberts dropping her daughter off, and I happened to be in the car with her. Elizabeth Proctor I met with because we couldn't take the torture any longer.
And you were later asked about this unrecorded visit at Trooper Proctor's home by Massachusetts State Police, correct?
Can you remind me?
Sure. Did you have a conversation with a trooper by the name of Tully, who interviewed you specifically about your contact with Michael Proctor?
Could I see the report to refresh my memory?
Do you not remember having a conversation with
I've had many conversations over the...
Another request for the fucking receipt. Can I please see the receipt before I answer this question for the 50th time?
last 2 years.
Tully?
Over the last 2 years with the number of troopers.
Okay. All I'm asking you is, and I've got a report that can refresh your recollection. I want to know, first of all, do you remember having a conversation about your relationship with Michael and Elizabeth Proctor with Trooper Tully?
I know I had a conversation with a trooper about it. I don't remember exactly which trooper.
Fair enough. May I approach?
Yes.
It's the multi-page report.
Hey, Lisa. What up, Lisa?
I'm going to show you this page. Okay.
Thank you.
Take a look at the face page of that, read it to yourself. And then I'd ask you to turn to the tabbed page, which is paragraph 27.
What up, Carol? What up, Carol and Lisa? She's just making sure to check the receipts and dot her T's and dot her I's and cross her T's before she gives a honest reply to the question.
You have that in mind?
Yes,
May I approach, Your Honor?
yes.
Thank you. Does that refresh your recollection, Ms. McCabe, that you had a conversation or an interview, formal interview, with Trooper?
You guys checking out the blinky eyes? She's doing the blinky eyes thing, the attitude. That's the tude coming through, the blinky eyes. The blinky eyes is a variation of the rolly eyes, but they obviously blink several times. Like, okay, she's doing the blinky eyes.
Tully about your relationship with Elizabeth and Michael Proctor.
Yes,
And you told, actually, let me back up for a second. Okay, was that somewhere in the vicinity of September, late September, early October, when you had that conversation?
is there a date on it?
You need the date, lady. You need that receipt too. Oh my God, bro.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
There's a date stamp on the bottom. Take a look at that date stamp on the bottom and tell me if that refreshes your recollection of about the time that that conversation would have taken place.
Well, the date stamp on the bottom is when it was, I'm assuming, entered into evidence, but
Right.
that doesn't say when the interview itself was.
Right, so if you'll agree with me, you know that you had the meeting with at Elizabeth and Michael Proctor's home sometime in September 2023, correct?
Correct.
If that's dated October of 2023, that's what I'm trying to get to. I don't know the date because it's not dated.
So I don't either.
So do you think it was between September and October?
It must have been.
Had to have been, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Before I get to that, I've got a couple of other questions. You had, at some point, multiple phone calls with Michael Proctor after January 29th, 2022, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. Do you remember all the phone calls that you had with him?
No, I don't.
Would it refresh your recollection to take a look at a log of your phone calls?
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you.
May I approach?
Yes. Is this what was marked 00 or
It's
00
not.
this morning?
That will be next.
Okay.
This is just a folder, the ones that are tabbed, highlighted.
Thank you.
Take a look at that and tell me if you, specifically, there's a lot of calls there. There are blue tabs. If you could look at those blue tabs and then tell me when you've taken a look at those.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, I've studied the hell out of the receipts. I'm ready to answer honestly now.
Can I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Good point, Nancy Drew. She's also running the clock out.
May I approach?
Yes.
You're welcome.
Fake as fuck.
Having looked at this set of records, does this appear to be an accurate reflection of the phone calls that you shared with Michael Proctor at some point on and after January 29th?
Yes.
Just to summarize those, and I don't want to belabor this, but there was a call on the 29th at 10:55 a.m. with Trooper Proctor, correct?
Correct.
There was a call on the 29th at 12:49 p.m., correct?
I didn't memorize them.
I understand. Would you?
So if you want to give me the paper back, then I could probably answer correctly.
You want to do
Okay,
it that way, we certainly can. May I?
Yes.
Thank you.
thank you.
I just, I got no comment. I mean, I feel like I'm being mean. I don't want to be mean, but I could literally stop every half a sentence. Um,
Okay, first call, January 29th, 10:55 a.m. Trooper Proctor calls you for 1 minute and 17 seconds.
Correct.
Next tab, January 29th, 12:49 p.m. Trooper Proctor calls you for 1 minute and 8 seconds.
Correct.
January 30th at 9:51 a.m. You called Trooper Proctor, 4-second call, probably a voicemail or something.
Correct.
January 30th, a minute later, 9:52 a.m., you then call Trooper Proctor again, 21 minutes and 31 seconds for that call.
Correct.
January 30th, same day, 4:45 p.m., Trooper Proctor calls you for 9 minutes and 43 seconds.
Correct.
January 31st, the next day, at 11:51 a.m., you call Trooper Proctor for 2 minutes and 53 seconds.
Correct.
That is the sum of those call logs, correct?
Correct.
Can I approach?
Yes.
Those aren't all the calls that you had with Trooper Proctor. That didn't stop. It's just where these logs stop, correct?
I'd have to see my further call logs.
Do you believe that you've had additional phone calls with Trooper Proctor after that last call on the 31st?
I know I did in 2023.
Okay. In 2022, did you have additional phone calls with her?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look at phone records.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
May we approach briefly?
Okay.
all right, you guys want to hear some funny shit while we wait? Today, okay, I had some guys over because we had a little issue. They were supposed to come on and turn on the sprinkler system because we are now getting into summer. The lawn needs sprinkler system on, so the guys come on over to activate the sprinkler system, which is a little 30-minute process. So they get here and they're outside messing around with the stuff, and I go to the sink to pour some. I need something with the water, and when I turn the water on, the water's like almost just to a drip, and I'm like, did they cut the water for some reason? They've never done that before, and then I notice outside that I hear some sprinkler on, and I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. So I kind of forget about it, and then 10 minutes later, a guy comes around the corner. He's like, hey, man, he's like, you must have left the water hose on in the winter, and it must have frozen, broken the pipes, because he says we're only getting half pressure.
Thank you, Tori.
So I kind of start sweating, and I'm like, look, I said that can't be right, because I'm really obsessive about the water hose in the wintertime. Like I make sure before the freeze hits that it's all drained and it's disconnected and everything. I said, so that's just not sounding right. And I said, so I'm gonna go check it out. So I go to check it out. Water hose looks fine. And then I think, well, maybe it's kinked. So I look and it's not kinked. And I think, well, damn, what's going on with this? So then I make it to the front of the house where the sort of the connection is from the street level water system that's incoming into the it's kind of the fixture where they turn off and on. They say there's a valve to turn off and on the whole sprinkler system to direct water into it. So it's a huge contraption, you know. And funny is that when I get to that spot, it's literally flooded. There, it's like there's a huge pool of water, and I'm like, oh no. So the guy comes and he starts looking at it. He's like the pipe is busted right here at the valve. So whether it was from winter or if someone in a vehicle might have kind of come into the lawn a little and hit it, whatever happened, that whole fixture, the pipe was broken under the soil a foot or two down. So they had to dig it all out, go get the replacement parts, come on back, cut the old pipe out, put a new pipe in or a new connection in, get it all settled, and then continue to turn the sprinkler system on and make sure it all works. So that 30 minutes turned into 4 to 6 hours. I can't, most of the day. Yeah, it was unexpected, but that's your time filler for this. So yeah.
May I inquire?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. McCabe, I don't have the records in front of me. They'll be found before the end of our conversation. But in the meantime, for expedition, do you remember a call on February 14th with Trooper Proctor lasting about 17 minutes?
I don't know.
Do you remember a call on February 17th lasting about 2 minutes?
I don't know.
Do you remember a call on February 28th lasting about 2 minutes?
I don't recall. Again, it's hard.
I expect that your answer is going to be, I don't recall, but I want to make a record if I could. So this is not a test of your memory at this point. I don't expect you to have it memorized. I just want to ask if maybe one of these stand out in your mind, or all of them. What about a second call on February 28th lasting about a minute?
Don't recall.
On March 1st, another call with Trooper Proctor lasting about a minute.
I do not recall.
Apparently a second call on March 1st lasting about 2 minutes and a few seconds.
I don't recall.
On March 11th, another call in the afternoon lasting about 12 minutes.
I don't recall.
And finally, a call toward the end of March, March 29th, lasting about 4 minutes.
Again, I don't recall.
Okay. Understood that this is not a memory test, and I don't have the records in front of me, so I apologize about that. Based on the conversation that we've just had, does that jog your memory that you had multiple calls in February and March with Trooper Proctor, as well as the calls we've gone over with the records in January?
To be honest, I had calls with many people. I was in a state of shock for months following this. So if you have the record, I can answer off of that. But besides that, just reading them to me does not jog my memory. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You wouldn't quarrel with the idea, I don't want to hold you to a number, you wouldn't quarrel with the idea that you had multiple calls with Trooper Proctor in January, in February, in March, correct?
Well, the ones I've just saw on the record, yes, there were multiple calls there.
And of course, you met him in your home on January 29th.
Yes, I did.
And he came into your living room, you had a conversation with him.
In my dining room, yes.
I'm sorry, your dining room. And also, Carrie Roberts was there.
Carrie Roberts was not there.
On the 29th?
Carrie Roberts was not at my house on the 29th, no.
When was she at your house when she was interviewed?
I believe that was the Tuesday, whatever the date was.
Maybe 1st? That sound right? First or second?
Yeah, something. It was the Tuesday following,
Okay. And was that with Trooper Proctor or a different trooper?
a different trooper.
And with Trooper Proctor on the 29th, when he was interviewing you in your dining room, that was the day that Brian Albert was also there.
Correct.
And was Brian Albert also interviewed on that day?
I believe so.
So Trooper Proctor was in your house for, gosh, it had to have been an hour.
I'm not sure. After I interviewed, I went upstairs, and then my children started waking up, and I was tied upstairs for a while. I'm not sure when or how long he was there.
But your memory is clear that not only did you meet Trooper Proctor on that day, you had a full conversation with him. It was in your house, that was in your kitchen, in your dining room, and another witness was interviewed by Trooper Proctor in your home as well.
Correct.
And then you had multiple conversations with him in January on that day, the day after, and the day after that. You've already seen those records, correct?
Yes, correct.
Then in either September or October, you were interviewed by Lieutenant Tully. That's the report that you've already seen.
Correct.
And in that interview, you were asked specifically whether or not you had a relationship with Trooper Proctor and when that relationship started, correct?
Correct.
And you said, quote, you had never met Elizabeth Proctor or Michael Proctor prior to September 2023, correct?
I did not say that.
So yet again, this is another example of a trooper completely getting it wrong. Is that right?
Objection.
Sustained. Ask.
She says, I did not say that, but ma'am, I thought you're all about the receipts and reading the records and verifying your own honesty. So so it's the trooper who's lying now?
Ask it differently.
In your view, did Lieutenant Tully get your statement wrong that you had never met Trooper Proctor before September of 2023?
Objection.
Is that true or is that wrong?
Lieutenant Tully knew I met Proctor prior to that because Proctor was the one who did the initial interview on January 29th.
Does it make you wonder why he wrote in his statement, quote, "You've
Objection, Your
never
Honor.
met Elizabeth Proctor or Michael Proctor prior to September 2023.
So the objection sustained.
If you indicated that you had never met Trooper Proctor before September of 2023, that would be a false statement, correct?
Objection.
You can answer that, Ms. McCabe.
I met Proctor January 29th. It's
It's a false
everywhere.
statement. If you said it, would it have been false? That's all I'm asking.
Yes.
On January 29th, in the early morning hours, I want to take you all the way back to 1:30, 1:45 a.m. when you left 34 Fairview on the 29th. After you dropped off the girls, where did you and Matt McCabe go?
We came home.
After you got home, you indicated that you went upstairs, correct?
Correct.
After you went upstairs, you indicated that you got on the phone.
Correct.
On your cell phone, correct? After you got on your cell phone, you indicated that you started searching for stuff.
Correct.
So if there's GPS, that you've seen the forensic extraction or part of it, correct?
Which one are you referring
Your
to?
phone. The forensic extraction of your phone.
I saw what you showed me yesterday from Celebrate.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
From Celebrate, part of it.
I saw, yeah, the phone calls, yes.
Okay. You're aware that that extraction shows that you got home after 2 a.m. or so that would be generally correct.
Correct.
The Celebrite extraction shows from your Apple Health data that you actually went up a set of stairs. That would be accurate, correct?
Accurate.
The Celebrite data shows that you actually logged into your phone, did a login, either Face ID or a passcode, opened up the phone. That would be accurate.
Correct.
The Celebrite data shows that you were engaging with an app called Safari to engage some Google searches, correct?
Yes.
That would be generally accurate as well, correct?
Yes.
So
Now, this here if you guys don't know this case, start paying attention. Okay, let's refocus. Everyone, focus.
After you opened up Safari, you indicated that you Google searched something about ozone basketball. Is that right?
Yes,
That was sometime after 2 a.m., right?
yes.
What was so important about ozone basketball at 2 a.m. that it couldn't wait until the morning? Why did you search it then?
Well, first I was home, I was wide awake, and I had been texting about a basketball chat, and basketball was clearly on my mind. My daughter had been invited to join a team. I didn't know much about the team, so
Get the jury.
I just was like Googling to
jury.
see, because the woman who had given my daughter the
Okay, sorry. I don't know why she does this, but she's really trying to convince the jury with this story right now.
offer had wanted an answer.
So you say that basketball was on your mind, correct?
Yes.
Was there anything else on your mind in that early morning hour time frame?
Don't believe so.
Ms. McCabe, if you wanted to know in general how long it takes for a human being to pass away because of exposure to extreme temperatures, right? If you wanted to know the answer to that, what would you Google search? What phrase would you use?
I'm not sure. All I recall is what the defendant asked me to Google in the morning.
Now, you guys do understand that she's lying about searching how long does it take to die in the cold, okay? So what happens is, at this hour, at the 2 a.m. hour, she Googles, how long does it take to die in the cold? Okay? She then deletes that search, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that in the future. She's outright denying searching how long does it take to die in the cold until 6 a.m. when she searches it again. But
If you wanted to know, I'm asking a different question. If you personally wanted to know, how long does it take for a person to die of exposure due to extreme temperatures, what would you put in? What phrase would you use?
Objection.
Sustained.
Well, we don't have to guess at the phrase that you would use if you wanted to know something about dying of hypothermia, do we? Because you actually Google searched it.
Objection.
Sustained. Ask that differently, please.
Did you, in fact, use a phrase to Google search how long it takes for someone to die of extreme temperatures?
I did in the morning at the request of your client.
Okay. And what phrase did you use?
I'm not sure.
narrative.
Really?
Correct. I was
2.5 years of this, you don't know the phrase that you used?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
There's so many lies and misconceptions
question.
on social media.
Question.
Oh, I apologize.
Okay.
Are you telling me you don't remember what Google search you put in?
Karen was screaming. My hands were shaking, and she was saying, Google hypothermia, how long does it take to die in the cold?
And what phrase did you put in your phone? I'm just asking you to say it.
Why don't you show me it?
You literally don't remember?
Again, she was screaming, Google hypothermia, how
Why don't you show me it? Why don't I slap the shit out of you? This woman here, she Googled how long to die in the cold or something to that effect. No. Yes, how long to die in cold. Let me type it. She Googled this, okay? At 2 something a.m., what was it? Let's figure this out. 2:27 a.m. Let me type that into 2:27.
long does it take to die in the cold?
How about,
And I picked up my phone and I started Googling.
and you literally to this day, right now, under oath, you're saying you don't remember that phrase that you used?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that at her
Do you remember it or do you not, Ms. McCabe? That's a simple question.
that morning, I don't remember specifically what I Googled, but I do know what you've put out to the social media.
How about this? Hoss long to die in cold. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, it's been
Why
everywhere
does that sound so familiar?
because you've put it out in social media.
Well, I haven't put anything out in social media because I don't personally have social media.
I'm sorry.
Look at the crazy eyes. You notice that the past 30 seconds she's been giving the insane, crazy psychopath eyes. Okay, so she wants to kill him right now. This is the look of a control freak who wants to kill him. Okay, so let's back it up. There, just that long. Watch the crazy eyes come out.
Yeah, it's been
Why
everywhere
does that sound so familiar?
because you've put it out in social media.
Well, I haven't put anything out in social
All right.
media because
I just want to watch. Uh-oh, did I fuck up? Hold on. I don't know where we were. Shit. I want you to see the crazy eyes pop out because man, this woman is completely.
And she was saying, Google hypothermia. How long does it take
She's a terrible witness. They were insane for doing this. They should have never called this woman as a witness.
to die in the cold?
And what phrase did you put in your phone? I'm just asking you to say it.
Why don't you show me it?
You literally don't remember?
Again, she was screaming, Google hypothermia. How long does it take to
Crazy
die
eyes.
in the cold?
Crazy
And
eye.
I picked up my phone and I started Googling.
And you literally, to this day,
Crazy
right now,
eyes.
under oath, you're saying you don't remember that phrase that you used.
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that at her
Do you remember it or do you not, Ms. McCabe? That's a simple question.
that morning, I don't remember specifically what I Googled, but I do know what you've put out to the social media.
How about this? Hoss long to die in cold. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, it's been
Why
everywhere
does that sound so familiar?
because you've put it out in social media.
Well, I haven't put anything out in social media because I don't personally have social media.
I'm sorry, Turtle Boy did.
So if the world happens to know it, that's not on me, is it?
I guess not.
I guess not. Hoss long to die in cold is what you put in to the Google search, right?
If you say so.
Is there a reason that you don't want to admit to that?
Absolutely not.
It's a simple question, right?
No reason.
So say it. What Google search did you use?
Objection.
Sustained.
It's sad.
You were seeking.
It's sad. Like they are willingly and knowingly covering up the murder of their friend, a fellow police officer.
Point to Google how long to die in the cold, correct?
Correct.
And you made a mistake and mistakenly typed Hoss long to die in cold, correct?
If you could show me it, I'd appreciate it.
You later Google searched. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
It's just like with Delphi. I just don't understand how these
Thank
people
you.
think they can fool the
While she
entire
looks at that,
world.
Mr. Jackson, can we bring our clerk back upstairs?
Of course, yes. I think we're, that should be said.
Thank you very much. Can you text Jimmy and tell him?
I don't see how they think they can literally fool the entire world. I mean, what kind of egomaniacs think that they can fool the entire world?
Yes, it does.
Does that appear to be an accurate page from a Celebrite extraction from your phone?
Yeah, that's what I said last night.
It does.
Drew.
Okay.
She actually loves the
I'm sorry, may I
fight.
approach?
Like
Yes.
women like
Can I
her,
have that back for a second?
they love the fight. Like
Did you
she's
see
getting
the,
all
the
like
actual
deep.
search phrase?
Yes.
Now refresh your
Yesterday
recollection.
when we watched.
Yes.
But I'd like to have this marked as.
She loves the fight. She lives for the fight.
Is there an objection, Mr. Lally?
She always
No,
wins,
Your Honor.
except here. She's not going to win here. Because guess what? The jury is seeing all of this, just like we are.
May I?
Yes. Is that, Madam Court Reporter? I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
She thinks she can. I mean, they all think they can fool the entire world
Okay.
and blame it on some little lady. All right, I'm just preparing you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this again, I'm asking you guys to focus because this here is where it gets really serious. Okay, and the more you get into this case, you're going to understand that this moment right here is really big. Okay, this is a really big moment because he's going to show now some of the Celebrite data, including the 2:27 a.m. Long to Die in the Cold Safari search that was subsequently deleted. Yes, she tried to delete this. Let me say it twice. She tried to search it again at 6 a.m. to cover up the fact that she searched it at 2:27 and deleted it. So you're going to see all of this right here with this slide presentation he's about to give. But these people are lying. Okay, they are obviously lying. There's forensic cell phone data extraction right here that we're looking at, and where are the feds? Where are the feds?
Does this appear to be the document that was just marked as Exhibit 99?
Yes.
I know it's a little bit small, Mr. Basin. You see this column,
Yes.
third column from the, actually it's the fourth column from the left. Some dates, some data, and then a Google search, correct?
Correct.
What does that Google search say?
House Long to Die in Cold.
Now, you indicate that you did that, you made that search at 6:23 a.m., correct?
Correct.
And then you indicated that you did it again thereafter at 6:24, correct?
Correct.
At 6:24, you misspelled the phrase and you spelled it as follows: how long T.I. die in CIKD, correct?
Correct.
Now you claim that those two searches were at 6:23 and 6:24 a.m. respectively, correct?
Objection.
Phrase it differently.
Sure. You've indicated under direct examination that these two searches were at 6:23 and 6:24 a.m., right?
I don't know if I gave exact times, but I said it was in the morning and Karen had asked me to do it.
And exactly, you claimed that you searched it because Karen was screaming at you and yelling at you, Google hypothermia, and you Googled how long does it take for a person to die. I'm sorry, she said something like, how long does it take for a person to die of hypothermia? And you Google searched it at 6:23 and 6:24. Is that right?
Again, I'm not sure about the exact times. I just did it after Karen asked me to do it.
Would you quarrel with the idea that those were about 30 seconds apart?
Okay.
And you're aware, Ms. McCabe, that both misspellings of that phrase result in the exact same search results, don't they?
I'm not aware of that, no.
Well, you Googled them, ma'am. You're looking on your phone and you Googled them. How long to die in cold and how long to die in CIKD. Both of those. You Googled them, right?
I did, yes.
And they result in the exact same search results, don't they?
I have no idea.
So my question to you is, why the two searches?
She was standing next to me screaming, shaking my hand. My hand was cold. I was trying to Google it. Obviously, maybe whatever came up first didn't make sense because I had some misspellings, so I did it again.
So Hoslong to die in cold results in articles concerning dying of exposure, doesn't it?
We never got the chance to read it.
Well, you're the one, when you say we, who's we?
Karen and myself.
Well, you're the one holding the phone, Ms. McCabe.
Correct.
So you're looking down at your phone and you see exactly what comes up, correct?
I don't remember exactly what came up.
Well, what came up was something about dying of hypothermia, didn't it?
That's what she asked.
So why do it again? Why do it again, Ms. McCabe? You had the result. Why the second search?
I cannot answer that beyond telling you that my hands were frozen. She was shaking me and screaming at me.
And you see the time, let me scroll up, please. According to the Celebrate data, you see this first search that says Hoslong to die in cold?
I do.
What's that time?
You've got the, it's right over at 2:27
AM or PM?
a.m.
Ms. McCabe, you made that search at 2:27 a.m. because you knew that John O'Keefe was outside in your sister's lawn dying in the cold, didn't you?
Absolutely not. I did not make that search at that time. No.
Realized the next morning, after John was discovered, after 6 a.m., that you had an incriminating search on your phone, didn't you?
Absolutely not.
To cover your tracks, you searched it again in order to overwrite the original search at 2:27, correct?
Again, absolutely not.
But you were nervous and you screwed it up. So the first search you made at 6:23 was Hoslong to die in CIKD, wasn't it?
No.
Well, you see the search right there, correct?
I see the search, but I disagree with your narrative.
And what's the time frame of that search?
6:23.
And you agree that that time frame is accurate, right?
Again, it's what the report says.
And that comports with your memory of that morning, about 6:23 in the morning in 51 seconds.
Correct.
There's a second search, correct?
Correct.
And this one at 6:24 says Hoslong to die in cold. 6:24:16, correct?
Correct.
I'm sorry, 18. I was up that great. And that comports with your memory as well.
I remember Googling it at the request of the defendant. Yes.
About 27 seconds apart, correct?
Yes.
But the reality is, your first search didn't comport with the 2:27 a.m. search, did it? It was a different spelling, wasn't it?
I never searched a 2:27. That is not reality.
But the 6:24 search did exactly mirror the search that, according to this report, took place at 2:27, correct?
I'm sure.
That is not reality, although we're looking at Celebrite phone extraction data. Celebrite phone extraction data.
A Celebrite will be able to explain it to you. I can't.
And then of those three searches, one of them.
You caught that? You caught that fucking narcissistic clap back she gave him? She said, "I'm sure Celebrite will be able to explain it to you because I can't." What a disgusting human being.
Ended up deleted. Isn't that right?
I never deleted any search.
Take a look at the Celebrite report, top search, and the column marked deleted. What do you see?
I see a yes.
Let me take this down. Ms. McCabe, the reason you deleted that 2:27 a.m. call is because you realized that if you were caught Googling how long it takes for a person to die in the cold 3.5 hours before John's body was found, that would incriminate you, wouldn't it?
Objection.
The objection sustained.
Did you delete that search because you knew that you would be implicated in John O'Keefe's death if that search was found on your phone?
Objection.
I'll let you. Could you answer that, please?
I did not delete that search. I never made that search at 2:23. I never would have left John O'Keefe out in the cold to die because he was my friend that I loved.
But he's not your family, is he?
Family and friends.
Is he not
Objection.
your...
Sustained.
You acknowledge that you made the search at 6:23, don't you?
In the morning I did, yes.
Acknowledge that you made the search at 6:24.
Multiple times in the morning, yes.
Of the 3 searches that show up that were all found on your phone, the one that you disavow is the one that took place at 2:27 a.m., which would implicate you and exonerate my client, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Can I ask it differently, Mr. Jackson?
Of those 3 searches, there was only one marked deleted. Isn't that right?
Correct.
That was the one at 2:27 a.m., correct?
I wouldn't even know how to go in and delete a
That's not what I
search.
asked you. The one according to the Celebrate report that was deleted, the one at 2:27 a.m., correct?
Correct.
You would agree that that's awfully convenient for you, isn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Lally?
Thank you.
May I approach briefly?
Yes. Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Going back a little bit, you were asked some questions about Life 360 application that you had on your phone, is that right?
Yes.
And you're familiar with that app and familiar with sort of using that app to see where your children are at various times, is that correct?
Yes.
And from your experience using that app, how accurate is it as far as location or time or anything in regard to it?
Pretty accurate, varying some of their locations and sometimes weather.
Have you ever had instances in which you were told someone was somewhere and they were not there?
Yes.
You were asked some questions about Ryan Nagel's truck, correct?
Yes.
And do you know, or did you on January 29th, 2022, did you know Ryan Nagel?
I did not.
Did you know what kind of vehicle he drove?
I did not.
Keep your voice up, Mr. Lally, please.
Do you know whether or not that was actually somebody else's truck?
I do not know.
Do you know whether or not on January 29th, 2022, Ryan Nagel had a friend named Ricky?
I do now.
But on the 29th, did you?
No.
On the 29th, did you have any idea what kind of vehicle he drove?
No.
This person you didn't know.
Right. Correct.
Now, when you looked outside as far as the truck was concerned, did you even see a truck?
I just saw lights, vehicle. I didn't focus much attention to what was over there.
So fair to say you weren't paying attention to a truck you didn't see, a person you didn't know, that you had never seen before, correct?
Sustained as to that form.
Now, you were asked some questions about texts between Ryan Nagel and Julie Nagel, correct?
Yes.
And as far as when those texts were sent, you don't know, do you?
Can you clarify?
Sure. Do you know whether or not Ryan Nagel texted his sister Julie before he had even pulled onto Fairview Road?
They were texting at about his arrival.
Texting about his arrival, but do you know where Ryan Nagel was when he was texting Julie about his arrival?
I believe he was outside.
But you don't know. Is that fair to say?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you know whether or not Ryan Nago was on Cedar Crest or somewhere else when he texted Julie that he was about to arrive or that he was there?
Objection.
No, I'll allow it. Do you know that?
I don't know that, no.
As far as the defendant's motor vehicle and the truck that Mr. Nago was in, did you see either of those vehicles arrive in front of Fairview?
Yes.
You saw them pull up?
No, actually, are you asking if I saw them pulling up or if I saw when they arrived? I did not see them pulling up.
So at some point after they arrived, your attention was drawn outside.
Yes.
And when we're talking about you going to the door and looking outside, how long a period are you looking at?
Not long.
So would you describe it as either a glance or more of a, were you staring intently at the vehicle out in front of the house?
Objection.
Sustained.
How would you describe the manner in which you were looking out at the SUV in front of the house?
I would go to the front door. I look out. I saw the vehicle. I believe I sent a text and I went and sat back down.
Now, in any of those times that you went to the door, and do you know how many times you went to the door?
I don't know exactly.
At least twice, is that correct?
At least, yes.
Now, in those at least twice that you, well, at least twice that you saw the vehicle and once that you saw that the vehicle was gone, correct?
Yeah, so I guess actually it was more than twice because I saw the vehicle move as well.
And when you say as far as you saw the vehicle move, did you see the vehicle physically move, or it was in one place and then you came back later and it was in a different place?
It was in one place, and then when I came back, it was further up.
Now, at any of those points in time that you took a glance out the storm door, did you see anybody outside of the vehicle?
No,
Did you see inside of the vehicle?
no,
Did you see anybody outside other than Julie Nagel on the front lawn or front walkway or anything else?
no,
At any point in time while you were at 34 Fairview that night, did you see John O'Keefe?
no,
At any point in time when you texted John O'Keefe after you arrived at Fairview, did John O'Keefe respond?
no,
At any point in time after you arrived at Fairview, or after you hung up from the 12:18 a.m. call in which you were describing where 34 Fairview was in reference to Bella's house, did you ever hear from John O'Keefe ever again?
no,
And during that about 20-minute or so period of time when Mr. O'Keefe or the defendant's SUV is in front of the house, you never heard anything from John O'Keefe, correct?
correct.
And did that strike you as unusual as far as him not responding?
I thought it was strange, but then I thought that they just might have decided to go home or had gotten into a fight or Kaylee wanted him home.
Now, you're looking out through the storm door and you see the Lexus with its lights on, right?
Correct.
And from that area, the secondary area, up by the flagpole and the fire hydrant, that's the same area where you found John O'Keefe the next morning, correct?
Correct.
And with reference to that area, is there any lights as far as street lights or anything that you're aware of in that area?
No, it's a dark area in the corner of the lot.
Now, at any point in time, were you looking or were you expecting to see John's body on the lawn?
Absolutely not.
And fair to say that when you're looking in the dark, in the snow, from the storm door out towards a vehicle, not the same conditions as if you're standing in a courtroom or sitting in a courtroom today about 10 feet away from somebody during the daytime with lights on, correct?
Correct.
In fact, when you go back to Fairview the next morning, and again, who was the person who requested or directed to go to Fairview?
Karen.
And so when you go to Fairview along with the defendant and Ms. Roberts at the defendant's direction, sometime around 6 a.m., when was it that you first saw Mr. O'Keefe?
I wasn't the one to first see him. Karen was.
So she's banging on the door, asking it to be let out. She goes directly over to the body, correct?
Correct.
And neither you nor Ms. Roberts, well, you didn't see Mr. O'Keefe on the lawn until after she did that, correct?
Correct.
And that was after you had already sort of driven a little bit past where he was, correct?
Correct.
Now, with reference to you get home from Fairview around 2 a.m. or somewhere in that time frame, you go up to bed and you do some searches on your phone, correct?
Correct.
And so there's a Safari tab or an application on your phone. That's where you access Google.
Yes.
Is that typically where you would access Google?
Yes.
And you were looking at Ozone basketball. You're also looking at Hockamock. Is that right?
Objection.
Sustained.
What, if anything else, were you looking at beyond the Ozone basketball you talked about?
We had an exciting game earlier in the night against a local town that has a very good basketball program. So I went on Hockamock Sports to look at the recap, and typically I'll do that to see how other teams did, etc.
And around that same time, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, within when you did that, as far as looking things up on Google, were you opening up new tabs within Safari as you were looking at different websites or different topics?
No.
And when you went to bed or you went to sleep that evening, at some point you turned off your phone, right?
Correct.
And did you X out that box, that Safari tab that you were doing those searches with regard to Ozone and Hockamock?
No, I used to always leave my tabs open and my kids would yell at me.
As far as having multiple tabs open, is that correct?
Drains my battery, etc. Yes.
So then, flash forward to sometime after 6 a.m., you're on the side of the road and the defendant asks you to conduct or look up something with regard to hypothermia or how long to die in the pool, correct?
Correct.
So when you open that up and you go into Google, did you open up a new tab or did you just sort of go into what you had already open in the Safari tab?
I went to what I already had opened.
And that's where you performed the search, is that right? That's where you performed the search that you were just being asked about?
Yes.
And you never made any search like that at 2:27 in the morning, correct?
I did not know.
Now, again, you've been shown what's been called a Cellbrite extraction report, correct?
Yes.
Are you familiar with how many Cellbrite extraction reports were conducted in reference to your phone?
I think a couple. I'm actually not sure.
And prior to January 29th, 2022, had you ever seen a Cellbrite extraction report?
No.
As you sit here today, do you even really know what that is?
Not really, no.
Do you know what a wall file is?
No.
Do you know what an SQLite database is?
No.
Do you know what a knowledge profile C database is?
No.
Do you know how information is stored and kept within your cell phone?
No.
Now, as far as, let me ask you this, you had 4 children and you were a mom, a homemaker, correct?
Correct.
At some point you did work though, right?
Yes.
What did you do for work?
I was an elementary school teacher.
What grade did you teach?
5th.
One question, and we'll see where this goes.
What grade did you teach?
5th.
And how long did you teach 5th grade?
Objection.
Yeah, I'm going to see counsel at sidebar. Folks, feel free to stand up.
I mean, you guys see what's going on here? What he's trying to do? He's trying to salvage this shit, trying to get her back into a position of credibility with the jury. I think the damage is done, though. She's absolutely unhinged, and it was a horrible decision to have her on the stand.
If I could take you back to 4:53 in the morning is when you get that first call from Kaylee Kerbush, is that correct?
Correct.
You answer that call and then the defendant is put on the line, correct?
Yes.
And so what is the first sort of iteration of the story that the defendant tells you happened the night before?
That they got into a fight. She left him at the waterfall, and he never came home.
And at some point later, you confront her with that you saw the vehicle out front of the house, correct?
Correct.
And so then what is the defendant's story changed to at that point?
That they went there, and it changed multiple times. I'm not sure exactly. She said, "Oh, at one point, oh my God, I don't even remember going there." She was telling other people that he was dead, that a plow hit him. The story changed multiple times that morning.
Now, on cross-examination, you were played a voicemail. Do you know whose phone that voicemail was from?
They never said no.
Fair to say that you're on 911 in the background of that phone call, correct?
Correct.
So it wasn't your phone.
Correct.
And there's two other people beyond that as far as Ms. Roberts and the defendant there, correct?
Correct.
Was Kerry on the phone at all that you saw?
No.
And so with reference to the timing of that phone, you had called 911 and you were on the phone with 911 at the time that recording starts, right?
Correct.
So you had gotten out of the car, you had gone around and then seen where the defendant had run over to Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Objection.
As to the form, it's sustained.
What had you done before you placed that 911 call?
I got out of the car. I ran behind the car over to the body. I was in a state of shock for a couple of seconds. Kerry and I looked at each other, and I said, "I'm going to call 911."
And there was a period of time when you made the call before it connected, and you said you got bounced around to different agencies, correct?
Yes.
And this is after the defendant has hit the door and run from the vehicle over to Mr. O'Keefe's spot, right?
Yes.
So it's not your phone, and it's not Ms. Roberts' phone. The fair inference is the defendant's phone, correct?
Correct.
And so this phone call had been made or started recording at some point before you had even gotten out of the car, made your way over to Mr. O'Keefe, been in a state of shock for a few seconds, called 911, connected to 911. So at some point, it had to have been made in the car, correct?
This woman right here, you notice how she's Miss Perfect? So she gets out of the car, she runs over to the body, she's in a state of poor thing, and immediately calls 911, does the right thing. You get what I'm saying? Like, she's painting herself as Miss Perfect. I'm a school teacher, I'm a mother, I got out of the car, ran over to the body, I was immediately in a state of shock, and then I called 911 and did the right thing. Yeah, exactly, Marianne Foster. Every time she's trying to shove the group's narrative down the jury's throats, she turns and looks right at them. Every single time. They forgot to coach her not to do that. They couldn't anticipate that. They should have said, look, whenever you're really upset and really trying to force a narrative down the jury's throats, don't stare at them and recite the narrative. So they fucked up.
Objection.
Ask it differently.
Do you know when that voicemail or that recording that you heard, do you know when that call was placed?
I don't.
Now, at the time that you are making the 911 call, where is the defendant in relation to the vehicle?
She is over with Mr. O'Keefe.
You mentioned that the part beyond the 911 call where you heard yourself talking, you're at the rear of Ms. Roberts' vehicle?
Yes.
And why are you at the rear of Ms. Roberts' vehicle?
In the beginning, I'm at the rear gathering towels or blankets. And then a few times I go to the rear because I'm trying to speak with the 911, and Karen is screaming hysterically, and then Kerry starts screaming at her to calm down. It was quite chaotic, so I was moving away so that I could be clear with the operators.
Now, at some point, you went into your sister's house at 34 Fairview, right?
Yes.
And why did you go?
Officer Lank asked me to go in and wake them up.
So you were asked to go in there by the police to wake them up, correct?
Sustained.
And at some point, you indicated that you had called Officer Lang to come back to the house, right?
Yes.
And how did you get his number again?
Julie Albert.
And as far as, were you aware whether or not Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, or any of the other people that were present had Officer Lang's number?
Objection.
Sustained.
Why did you ask Julie Albert and not Brian Albert or Nicole Albert?
Because I knew she was the only one that had his number.
You were asked some questions about when you were on scene, and you indicated in your testimony on direct that you heard the defendant say, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him," correct?
Yes.
You were also, early in your testimony, had indicated that earlier in the morning, the defendant had
Here we go
phrased
again.
that differently as far as, could I have hit him or did I, correct?
Objection.
Sustained as to the form.
Here we go again.
You heard the defendant make a variety of statements over the course of the morning, correct?
Yes.
And more to my point, as far as you recall testifying at another hearing under oath in June of 2022, correct?
Yes.
And do you recall being asked some questions specifically about this topic?
Objection.
Allowed. Okay.
You catch that little eye roll? The little eye roll? She didn't like that eye roll. Eye roll at the objection. Fuck this guy is what's going on in her mind. Fuck this guy. Fuck this Alan Jackson. Objecting. It's like the way she gets that little shit-eating fucking grin, that little smirk on her face every time an objection is sustained on her cross, remember? Every time an objection was sustained, she got this little slight smirk on her face. Made you want to... All right, never mind. A little shit-eating grin. She's like, yeah, the judge sustained that objection. Alan Jackson. I mean, I think this woman right here can... This woman right here single-handedly dismantles the entire case. I really do believe that. She's horrible. It's obvious that she really appears to be untruthful, dishonest, promoting a narrative. And how do you argue the Celebrite data that you searched? How long does it take to die in the cold at 2 a.m.? Come on, lady. What did you know that no one else knew at 2 a.m.? Yeah, and she got the duping delight. That's right. She got the duping delight at a certain point that I pointed out. The first little smile she's ever given was when the prosecutor asked her a particular question. You know, Lally asked a particular question, and she puts this little smile like, oh yeah, this is what I'm trying to say. Thank you. Thank God I'm no longer under cross. I mean, can't handle these tough questions. So yeah, please help me with the narrative and give me credibility. Anyway, I don't think we have much longer. I wish this would end soon because I'm ready to call it a night. This is laborious. Yeah. So the guy gets dropped off at midnight. At 2 a.m., you're searching how long does it take to die in the cold. At 6 a.m., you're finding the body. Interesting. She started lying every other word. Oh, hey, I'll give her the statement sheet. She can just keep that statement sheet. She looked at it more than he has already. This woman is a control freak. That's what I said. That's what I said yesterday. I know this type, okay? I know her type. She has never not been in control, okay? She's never not been in control. She's always in control. And this is probably the first time in her adult life that she has not been in control. And that's why she has that psychopathic, I want to kill you look in her face, especially when she's backed into a corner. In the meantime, you got this woman right here who may or may not be completely innocent. So imagine if you were innocent and having to sit here accused of killing your boyfriend, and you got a control freak like this woman on the stand trying to ruin the rest of your life because she doesn't want her friends and family to go down.
So, John?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Ms. McCabe, as I was asking before, in June of 2023, you testified in another proceeding, correct?
Correct.
And you were asked questions specifically about those statements that you heard the defendant say on the morning of January 20th, correct?
Correct.
And do you recall specifically what your testimony was in regard to that portion of in regard to those statements?
I don't recall specifics. I know what I know what I know. I know what happened.
Can I approach, John?
Yes.
Now I'm giving you 2 pages. Direct your attention to the bottom of the first page and then into the next page. If you could just review that to yourself and look up at
The page again, Mr. Lally?
You're on 816 and 817.
Thank you.
Checking them receipts again. Just making sure she's on track.
May I approach, John?
Yes.
Mr. McCabe, is your memory refreshed as to what you said in that prior proceeding in regard to those statements?
Yes.
And what did you say?
What did I say in that? I told them that Karen looked straight at me and said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. And I said that there was, I believe, an EMT that overheard as well.
While looking at the jury, let's get that whole deal about I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Let's watch the jury stare down.
What did I say in that? I told them that Karen looked straight at me and said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. And I said that there was, I believe, an EMT that overheard as well.
Now, do you recall in that same prior proceeding being asked any questions sort of at different times, the defendant saying different iterations of that same statement?
Objection.
Sustained as to form. No leading, Mr. Lally.
With respect to that's testimony in that same prior proceeding, what, if anything else, were you asked about statements the defendant made to you that morning?
I was asked what were some of the statements that Miss Reed had made, and it was like, repeat, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead? Could I have hit him? Did I hit him? I have a cracked taillight. And then I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
And so with respect to questions, and as far as did I hit him or could I have hit him, and the statement, I hit him. Those were at different times, correct?
Correct.
Now, you met with Trooper Proctor on January 29th, is that correct?
Correct.
Was that the first time that you had met him?
Correct.
And who, if anyone, was with him when you met?
I believe it was Trooper Yuri.
And subsequent to that day, did you meet with other troopers in the state?
Yes.
And by other troopers, I mean not Trooper Proctor and not Trooper Yuri.
Yes.
And with respect to meeting with other troopers, was it at that point that they had talked to you about taking your phone?
Correct.
And they asked you for your phone, is that correct?
I had shared my Life 360 and my Life 360 and my texts, and they asked if they could take a copy of my phone.
And did you agree to that?
I agreed to it. Yes.
And were you presented a form at all in regard to your agreeing to hand over your phone?
Yes.
Stop looking at the jury when you're trying to be Miss Perfect, young lady.
And beyond what you had testified to earlier as far as things to do, were there any limitations that you put on what they could look at or take from your phone?
No limitations.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm showing you a document, again, just ask you to look at it, look up.
Checking out some more receipts.
And just in general, ma'am, do you recognize that?
Yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
This was the consent form for my phone.
So that's the form you filled out with the troopers in regards to giving over your phone.
Correct.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'll multi-seek to introduce it as the next exhibit.
Is there an objection, Mr. Jackson?
No objection.
Okay, thank you.
Exhibit 100.
Thank you.
Now, again, Ms. McCabe, initially following that the events of initially that morning around 6 a.m. or so, at some point you were seeking or you had actually asked the defendant for Kerry Roberts' phone number, correct?
Yes.
And why is it that you were looking for Kerry's number specifically?
Well, the driving conditions were terrible. She was driving to Braintree to pick up Mr. and Mrs. O'Keefe. And then they were heading to the hospital. And
Lady, stop looking at the jury. You're making me uncomfortable. You're making me uncomfortable. Jesus Christ, lady. Can you please stop staring down the jury?
Now, again, Ms. McCabe,
Let's see what caused that. Okay, let's see what she's so adamant about convincing the jury of. Hold on.
initially following that the events of initially that morning around 6 a.m. or so, at some point you were seeking or you had actually asked the defendant for Kerry Roberts' phone number, correct?
yes.
And why is it that you were looking for Kerry's number specifically?
Well, the driving conditions were terrible. She was driving to Braintree to pick up.
Oh, I see. It's a lie. She's telling a lie. She's lying about why. The why. You see?
Mr. and Mrs. O'Keefe. And then they were heading to the hospital, and I was just looking to see how John was doing.
Now, you had mentioned
no, that's
at some
not
point, did you
right.
speak to Ms. Roberts that morning in regard to updates as far as how John was doing?
Yes,
And you mentioned that later on, either that day or the next day, that you had gone over to Mr. O'Keefe's house with Ms. Roberts, correct?
yes.
And who was driving at the time that you went over to the O'Keefe's house with Ms. Roberts?
Carrie was driving.
And so when you left the O'Keefe's house, where was it that you went?
Carrie went to drop her daughter off at her friend's house, the daughter of Mike Lank.
And you were just in the front passenger seat of that vehicle, correct?
Yes,
You had mentioned as far as getting together with Ms. Roberts at the request of someone to talk about a timeline, correct?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury sort of how that came about or who was making that
Now
request?
see, this touches back to what we heard yesterday about they are getting together to form a timeline to get their story straight, right? So that's why she wants to convince the jury that she's really getting together in order to check on John. No, no, no. You're getting together to work on the timeline and get your fucking story straight.
Carrie called me and she told me that she had talked to Peggy, and Peggy had.
No, I'm going to allow it.
And Peggy had suggested to Carrie, you guys should write a timeline. You don't want to forget anything, when the time comes, meaning when the trial comes, you don't want to forget anything that happened.
And just to be clear, when you say Peggy, who are you referring to?
Mrs. O'Keefe,
So John's mother?
John's mother, correct?
Now, you were asked some questions about subsequent date as far as hearing bits and pieces or portions of Ms. Roberts' statement to troopers at your home, correct?
Correct.
Do you know whether or not that was the first time that Ms. Roberts had talked to troopers or officers or anyone from either the Canton Police or the State Police?
I believe on the 29th in the afternoon, troopers went to her house. I said that would have been the first time.
So the time that she was at your home and speaking to troopers, that would have been at least the second time that she had spoken to troopers, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Now, with reference to Ms. Roberts and her phone, was Ms. Roberts, the time that you handed your phone over to the troopers, was Ms. Roberts present there as well?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you see
Yeah,
Ms.
'cause you
Roberts
girls
do
got
with
your
respect to
story
her
together.
phone and the troopers?
Yeah, you girls got your
She
story.
turned her phone over as well and signed the consent.
You got your shit together. What's up, Kayla? Yeah, they got their fucking story together. And then they go.
During that time, you had indicated that you had heard a statement that you said was horrified you in some way. Is that correct?
Got your timeline straight.
From Miss Roberts?
Yes.
Correct.
And what was that? What was she talking about?
Objection.
The door has been opened, Mr. Jackson.
That means you can answer.
Okay. So basically, Carrie is a talker, and once she started,
I think just focus on
Okay.
what she said.
okay, she said something like, John really loved Amy, and in my eyes, Karen was just a babysitter with benefits.
And is that what made it memorable to you as far as what
Ooh, you're trying to slander the defendant?
had transpired at that time?
Yes.
At any point in time, did you ever coordinate your statement or Ms. Roberts' statements with her prior to testifying in
Yes.
any hearing or any proceeding at any
Yes.
No.
Yes. Yes. How does it feel? How does it feel to do that to us?
Let me ask you, when you came to the area of 34 Fairview Road around 6 a.m., and you saw Mr. O'Keefe, was he in the same clothes that you had seen him in earlier?
He had jeans and I believe the same shirt on, yes.
And nothing additional as far as a jacket or anything like that that you saw?
Not that I recall.
Now, again, as you were driving down Fairview Road, if the defendant did not bang on the door and essentially jump out of the car and make a beeline over to Mr. O'Keefe, would you have stopped the car?
No.
Recall when you were leaving 34 Fairview Road earlier, as far as sometime between 1:30 and 1:45 when Mr. McCabe is driving. Do you recall whether or not the roads were plowed or treated or anything that you saw at that time?
I know there was snow on them, but I can't recall specifics.
Now, as far as the defendant coming over your house shortly after 5 a.m., was that something that you were expecting at the time?
No.
And what was it prior to the defendant showing up and sort of screaming in front of your house? What was your sort of plan as far as based on the information that Ms. Reed had called for?
My husband and I were going to go out and we were going to drive over to Tom Beatty's house to see if John was there.
Now, as far as the 911 call that you were making, that information that you were providing, what was that based on?
What I was seeing.
But as far as how Mr. O'Keefe had come to be there at 34 Fairview Road, when you're communicating any of that to the 911 operator or to officers on scene, was that from your observations when you were inside 34 Fairview after the waterfall, or?
This woman's going to go down as one of the most hated women on the internet before this is all over.
From some other source?
Well, it was from what Karen was saying as we were driving there.
So as far as him being dropped off or anything like that, that came from the defendant, correct?
Correct.
Now, as far as you had been asked and you had testified about going over to Trooper Proctor's house to meet with his wife, correct?
Correct.
And you testified about certain incidents of harassment that you had undergone, as well as Mrs. Proctor, is that correct?
Correct.
How long had that been going on for at that point?
At that point, it started in April, and now I believe I went over there in September.
And what, if anything, was the frequency of the harassment? Was it sporadic, or how often were you experiencing that?
Daily, sometimes hourly.
And in addition to what you've already testified, what, if any, other incidents do you recall specifically involving either you or your children or your home?
People come by my house, they take video, they scream. They've gone.
Wait. None of this has anything to do with who killed John O'Keefe. I mean, I'm not going to look at you like a victim, woman.
To my child's sporting events and called me names. They've written letters to my daughter's colleges and said that they shouldn't allow them to play. And then they've attached these horrific articles that have been complete lies about all of us. They send me Facebook messages. They call my phone, home phone and cell phone, all hours of the night.
Well, I mean, you are trying to send a woman away for life because your friends killed somebody?
They tell me to kill myself. They tell me I'm a terrible mother. They harass my children. My daughter testified here the other day. We didn't even get out of the building, and people were, saying horrendous things, that she's a liar. Your mother should die. It's just, it's unimaginable what my entire family is going through. I go to the beach, they take pictures, they post.
Because you're the victim because another person's dead and you appear to be lying about it? So you're the victim?
Post it. They threaten that there are eyes everywhere. I'll never be able to live a normal life again. I am a witness. That's all I am.
Well, they're right about that. They're right about that because you will become the most hated woman on the internet.
I am not on trial. I am a witness, and these people are terrorizing me.
Sustained as to that part. I'll strike that part. Everything else will stand.
Okay.
And so, your understanding that Mrs. Proctor had sustained similar issues as you had?
Correct.
Oh, I wonder why.
Again,
Why?
Trooper Michael Proctor never met him prior to January 29, 2022, correct?
I have never met him prior, no.
And the time that you went over to meet with Elizabeth Proctor, was Trooper Michael Proctor home at that time?
No, he was not home.
And had you ever been over to his house prior to that or any time subsequent to that?
No, never.
Oh, that means you didn't. That means you did not collude with the primary investigator to cover up the murders of John O'Keefe, the murder of John O'Keefe. So that's what that means. Is that we led to believe that you never colluded with the prime investigator on this case?
Now, you did have some conversations with Trooper Proctor following this day and around let me ask you this. You testified a bit about a rolling rally. Is that correct?
Correct.
Can you describe to the jury sort of what that was or what occurred on that day?
So that day in July, a group got together under one blogger, and they all met and they decided to go to different houses. So Michael Proctor had been made aware of what was happening, so he had reached out to tell me, you know, what was going to be happening and how they had set up some cameras. It was a Saturday. I had just come home from vacation with my children and my husband. Mrs. O'Keefe picked up my two younger children and brought them out with her so they wouldn't be home for this. And my two older children and my husband were in the house while about, I don't know, 50 to 75 people came to my house.
No, she's far worse than Amber Heard, in my opinion. She's far worse. She will be the most hated woman on the internet.
They screamed, they yelled, "There's a murderer." They just caused an absolute ruckus outside.
And prior to that, did you have any conversations with Trooper Proctor and the other troopers from the state police about knowledge of that incident occurring prior to its occurrence?
Yes.
And as far as setting up sort of pole cameras around your house to memorialize whatever was going to happen?
Yes.
Now, you were asked some questions with regard to the Google search. Again, that was initiated after 6 a.m. Why again?
Because Miss Reed asked me to Google how long to die from hypothermia. She said, Google hypothermia, Google how long it takes to die in the cold. She was shaking me, screaming at me to do it.
And she's shaking you as you're typing, is that correct?
Correct.
And there are some misspellings in it, correct?
Correct. I also have MS and I have
Well, I'll allow that.
I have MS and I have, issues with my hands. So I a lot of times Google and make errors, but the cold also makes my hand go completely numb.
Lady,
So I'm not surprised
You are
that
not the-
that's how it would come out.
you're not the victim.
When you were in your bedroom sometime
come on,
after 2 a.m., fair to say the
Period.
defendant wasn't there shaking you when you were Google searching for ozone basketball or hakamak?
Objection.
Sustained.
How about explain why at 2 a.m. you are Googling how long to die in the cold? Let's focus on that one.
One moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Jackson?
Concerning statement, I hit him. You gave a statement on January 29th to Sergeant Light. Called him over to specifically give him a statement, correct?
Correct.
Gave a statement the next day, later that day, Trooper Proctor, correct?
Correct.
You were also met with, on that following Tuesday, with a trooper named Prince, correct?
Correct.
And then you testified in April of 2022, no fewer than 12 times about statements that you attributed to Ms. Reed, correct?
Correct.
And in not one of those instances, not one, is there a report that says you said, she said, I hit it, correct?
Correct. Although I told Mike Lank.
Oh, we already know that the officers all got it wrong.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained as to that. Next question, please, Mr. Jackson.
So you indicate that the harassment that you just described, this terrible harassment that you just described, started in about April 2023, correct?
Correct.
That was around the time that there were public hearings concerning this Google search. Is that right?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
Is that right?
I'm not sure exactly when the Google search came out.
But you do know that you started suffering this harassment that you've claimed is awful and terrible, et cetera, around April of 2023. Is that right?
I didn't claim it's awful. It is awful.
Okay, I'm sure it is awful, Ms. McCabe. I'm sure it's terrible.
It
I'm
is.
sure it sucks to be harassed.
It really does.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
Objection, Your Honor.
All right, so that's sustained, and I'll strike it. Go ahead and ask a question, Mr. Jackson.
You were upset by April of 2023 that there was public outrage about your family being involved in the death of John O'Keefe. That's what you were upset about, correct?
I was upset that we as witnesses were being harassed.
You were upset about public outrage concerning this case, correct?
Objection.
Sustained, that was answered. Next question.
And 2 months later, in June of 2023, for the first time, you testified at another proceeding, and lo and behold, you attributed the words, "I hid it," to my client, right?
Objection.
So ask that without the objectionable phrase.
2 months later, at another proceeding, in June of 2023, you attributed the statement, "I hit him," to my client for the first time under oath, correct?
Under oath, correct.
You indicated when you turned your phone in, the police were perfectly okay with you deleting communications with your children, correct?
Correct.
Including Allie, who's a material witness in this trial.
Objection.
So part of that is objectionable, and I'll sustain that, so.
You're aware that your daughter Allie was a witness in this case.
At the time, I was not aware of that, no.
No, but you did know that ultimately she was going to indicate that she drove Colin home, correct? You knew that at the time.
Objection.
That's sustained.
Did you know at the time that Allie had driven Colin home, or she said she drove him home?
I had no idea she drove him home.
But you deleted all those communications with Allie, didn't you?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you delete all the communications that you had off your phone with Allie, your daughter?
Objection.
So this has already been answered, but go ahead, finish. Let's finish this loop. Did you delete them?
I deleted the conversations with my 4 daughters. At that time, Allie was not a witness.
Okay. All I asked you, you heard my question. Did you or did you not delete your communications with Allie McCabe?
Objection.
That's been answered.
You said that there was this.
You see the psychopathic look? She wants to kill him right now. She's got that psycho look again. Raging, boiling cauldron of hate inside that head right now.
Statement that horrified you, your words, horrified you, that Carrie Roberts made during her interview that you were eavesdropping on, right?
I'm not sure if she made it during that interview. I'd have to look back to see when I said she told them everything in bold, because I know she had said it to me multiple times.
I'd have to check that receipt. Sorry, sir. I'd have to check that receipt before I respond honestly.
So I'm not sure if it's when she said it in the interview or just in general. When she said, I told them everything. I told them, etc.
So when you said in that group chat, she's telling them everything, that might not even be what you're talking about.
No, it was.
And you said that horrified you, correct?
I didn't know Carrie Roberts, so yes, her statement horrified me.
Horrified you.
Yes, that was horrifying.
And in that group chat, your response to that horrifying statement was 3 words. I love it.
Was there a response prior to that?
So that's horrifying, but your friends killing John O'Keefe is not horrifying. But you love it.
You tell me, ma'am. I'm not the one under oath. You are.
Well, if you want to show me it again, I'd
Objection,
love
Your
to
Honor.
get.
So
If you show me the fucking receipts, I might respond honestly.
do you have it handy, Mr. Jackson?
I don't, Your Honor. I'll-
Psycho. What a demon.
Your Honor, it's been marked and entered. It was the packet this morning that I did. That's it. May I approach?
Sure.
Yeah, Bobby, imagine being this thing's husband. Imagine. Come on, let's find the receipts for the lady so she can honestly answer. Show her what she already said so she can make sure that's what she agrees that she has already said. Because, you know, she has to understand what she's already said because the truth always changes.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Take a look at those 2 pages, if you would.
Could you tell me what pages, please?
169 and the second page, Ms. McCabe, if you wouldn't mind.
What's the second number, Ms. McCabe?
Number, the bottom right.
2170.
Thank you.
You have that in mind?
Yes, I do.
May I, Your Honor? Yes. Thank you. During that conversation, when you said she's telling them everything, that came right on the heels of your husband saying, this girl could write a book, or this woman could write a book, or something like that, correct?
Correct. She talks nonstop.
Right.
Then
And then you said 2 texts down, she's telling them everything.
Correct.
The text just before that was, I love it.
That was in response to my husband saying this girl could write a book.
What's the next thing that you wrote to that group within a second of that?
She is telling them everything.
Right. May I approach the court?
Sure.
She did the blinky thing again. See her do the blinky thing again? Like,
Nowhere in that text chain did you say something along the
yeah,
lines of,
attitude.
oh my goodness, I'm so horrified, did you?
Those were on phone conversations.
Nowhere in those texts that you just saw did you say the words or write the words, I'm so horrified, did you?
No, because it was already spoken about.
You were asked on that morning, January 29th, 2022, as you drove to the location and ultimately to 34 Fairview,
This is exhausting.
what ultimately happened. And your testimony was, as you approached, my client was searching frantically for John O'Keefe, correct?
I don't believe I said she was searching frantically for John O'Keefe.
Searching frantically,
She was screaming frantically in the back seat and texting in the back seat.
was she just sitting there curled up in the back seat?
What was the eye roll,
Was she
though?
searching out the window?
Why do you
She
hate
was
this
screaming.
woman so much? Can you please explain why you hate this woman so much? I'm trying to understand because you're accusing her of murder. Why do you hate this woman so much? Watch this eye roll. I backed it up a bit. Watch the eye roll again.
You were asked on that morning, January 29th, 2022, as you drove to the location and ultimately to 34 Fairview. What ultimately happened? And your testimony was, as you approached, my client was searching frantically for John O'Keefe, correct?
I don't believe I said she was searching frantically for John O'Keefe.
Searching frantically.
She was screaming frantically in the back seat and texting in the back seat.
Was she just sitting there, curled up in the back seat, sucking her thumb, or was she searching out the window?
She was screaming
Right.
between Kerry and I. So I'm not really sure how she saw John over here when her head is up here screaming and then looking down and texting.
Was the whole point of that trip, Miss McCabe, to search for?
Oh my gosh, she's losing it. Do you guys see that? Ooh, she's losing it. Oh my gosh, let's back that up a bit. She is losing control here. All right. Let me get to the spot. Here we go. Watch her lose fucking control. Oh my gosh.
She was screaming
Right.
between Kerry and I. So I'm not really sure how she saw John over here when her head is up here screaming and then looking down and texting.
Was the whole point of that trip, Miss McCabe, to
Oh.
search for John?
That's so
It was because she knew where he was.
The
That's
whole
so
point of that
fucking
trip
scary. You're
was to look
scaring
for
me,
him,
lady.
correct?
You are scaring me. Jeez, I'm so glad I've never ever met you in real life, and I've never had to spend one fucking minute in the same house with you. Okay. Oh my gosh, just one more time. One more time for the unhinged display of boiling rage and hate for this woman, Karen Reed. Let's watch it again. Hold on. Hold on. I'm going to shut up.
She was screaming
Right.
between Kerry and I. So I'm not really sure how she saw John over here when her head is up here screaming and then looking down and texting.
Was the whole point of that trip, Miss McCabe, to search for John?
It was because she knew where he was.
The whole point of that trip was to look for him, correct?
She directed us to go to 34
Yes or no?
Fairview.
The whole point of the trip was to look for John, correct?
At 34 Fairview, where Karen said to go.
And your testimony is that if it hadn't been for Karen jumping out of that truck, you wouldn't have stopped, correct?
Because I wouldn't have seen him. I didn't know he was
Yes or
there.
no?
She did.
Okay, yes or no? Was that your statement? If she hadn't gotten out of the car, you wouldn't have stopped.
I don't believe it was stated like that. I believe there was a question and I answered.
And the question was, would you have stopped? And your answer was what?
What was the direct question?
Oh my goodness, Miss McCabe, it was 5 minutes ago.
Did he ask, did you see something? You like to change words. I just want to be certain.
So, Mr. Jackson, just keep it to questions, not comments.
You were asked just a second ago by Mr. Lally if Karen Reed hadn't jumped out of the car, you wouldn't have stopped, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. All right, Ms. McCabe, we are finished. Jurors, I'm going to ask.
Oh my God, that ended with a bang. I mean, how often do situations end at a fucking escalation? I think we got to watch it one more time because she just totally fucking lost her mind in the past minute or two. I cannot believe this display of insanity that this woman is showing the world. And outright hate and rage for this one. It's unbelievable. I've never seen someone act like this in a court of law. I mean, although I don't often visit courts of law, so, but geez, lady, the fuck is wrong with you?
You were asked on that morning, January 29th, 2022, as you drove to the location and ultimately to 34 Fairview. What ultimately happened? And your testimony was, as you approached, my client was searching frantically for John O'Keefe, correct?
I don't believe I said she was searching frantically for John O'Keefe.
Searching
She was screaming frantically in the back seat and texting in the back seat.
Was she just sitting there, curled up in the back seat, sucking her thumb, or was she searching out the window?
She was screaming
Right.
between Kerry and I. So I'm not really sure how she saw John over here when her head is up here screaming and then looking down and texting.
Was the whole point of that trip, Miss McCabe, to search for John?
It was because she knew where he was.
The whole point of that trip was to look for him, correct?
She directed us to go to 34 Fairview.
The whole point of the trip was to look for John, correct?
At 34 Fairview, where Karen said to go.
And your testimony is that if it hadn't been for Karen jumping out of that truck, you wouldn't have stopped, correct?
Because I wouldn't have seen him. I didn't know he was there. She did.
Yes or no? Was that your statement? If she hadn't gotten out of the car, you wouldn't have stopped.
I don't believe it was stated like that. I believe there was a question and I answered.
And the question was, would you have stopped? And your answer was what?
What was the direct question?
Oh my goodness, Miss McCabe, it was 5 minutes ago.
Did he ask, did you see something? You like to change words. I just want to be certain.
So, Mr. Jackson, just keep it to questions, not comments.
You were asked just a second ago by Mr. Lally if Karen Reed hadn't jumped out of the car.
Can you imagine a fight with this
You
woman?
wouldn't have stopped.
She loves
correct?
to fight.
Correct.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Oh my
Okay.
God, can you
All right, Ms. McCabe,
imagine?
We are finished.
domestic
Jurors,
argument
I'm going to ask you to
with this
follow them up
woman?
as you've done. We'll take a recess, and this one might be a little longer. I may need to see the lawyers.
Jurors holding and leaving your notebooks on the chairs. All rise. Follow me, jury out.
In an effort to save a little time, why don't I see counsel at sidebar to find out exactly what you want from me?
Wow. I'm really speechless. I'm really speechless over this woman. And that those last couple minutes, like she went insane. I could not imagine being in a relationship and having some domestic situation with this woman and the shit she might do in that house. That's a husband beater. That's the type of person who will scream and yell and lose her fucking mind in an argument and physically attack you. I mean, this woman is unbelievable. I cannot believe that display. Her seething anger will not benefit a conviction of Karen. It's a fine line. Crossing the line looks vindictive and premeditated. No compassion. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, can you believe that? Do you think the jury saw the way we did? Yes. Yeah, I have a sister who likes to fight, dirty, mean as fucking hell. Yeah. I mean, dude, the jury, that's what I was saying earlier tonight. I said the jury is seeing all of this. I believe this particular woman has exonerated Karen Reed. But between her unhinged rage and the Celebrite data showing that she searched in the 2 o'clock hour, how long to die in the cold? Why would anyone do that? And then to delete that search. Now, this woman here, Karen Reed here, I don't know. Hey, I wasn't there. You weren't there. We were not there. We don't know what really happened, but I mean, when you reverse engineer and look at this in the way a jury would, all you can see is that it's all the appearances of a setup. Yes, a conspiracy to make this woman go down for the death of John O'Keefe when it appears that he was beat to death and attacked by a dog, a large dog, and left out in the cold to die. And why would Jen McCabe Google how long to die in the cold? Why would she do that? Again, 2:27 a.m. How long to die in cold? Okay. 2:25 a.m. she makes a phone call. 2:25 a.m. she makes no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. 2:25 a.m. she makes a text. 2:25 a.m. another text. 2:26 a.m. deleted 2 screenshots. 2:27 a.m. searches how long to die in the cold. And then phone goes silent until 5 a.m. So what was happening between 2:25 and 2:27 a.m.? What was happening? We can't know, but we can follow the true evidence, not rumors. Yeah, we can understand that the Celebrite phone extraction is not lying. It's not going to lie. She says that never happened. And remember, she used specifically, and I know she was coached for this, she specifically used the word reality. She said, no, that 227 search for how long to die in cold is not reality. So that's the type of insane bitch this is. She wants you to question your own reality. The Celebrite data shows that it is reality. Oh, did I lose it? Okay. Let's show you. Reality. Reality. She wants to say, that never happened. I'm telling you reality. I didn't delete that thing that never happened. Anyhow, wow. It's easy to get a little excited about this insanity, but I mean, what does it look like? Okay. I mean, I already know the answer to this question. But what does it look like to you in the chat? What does it look like to you? I know what it looks like to me. It's why I'm having the opinions that I have. I know what it looks like, but like I said, we weren't there, but I know what it looks like. So, anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a really nice show tonight. I'm kind of burned out. I just taking this in from this woman is just basically unbearable. I hate it. It gives me a headache. I had a headache last night when we were done. She's intolerable. She's unhinged, and it's just unbearable to even watch her or see her or listen to her. Yeah. I think it's a setup. I think it's a conspiracy by law enforcement to cover their own asses because they're all still alive, and that guy's dead. There's nothing they can do about it. He's already dead. So if we got to sacrifice Karen Reed to save all of our asses, then we'll sacrifice Karen Reed to save all of our asses because she's not a cop anyway. So it's my opinion. Thin blue line is encircling these people or encircling this. They're taking care of their own. And doesn't it sound like Delphi? A bit? Yes. Anyhow, I'll see you guys later. It's been good. It's been good. I'm all wound up. I'm all wound up. I gotta go. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Marianne, it's reasonable doubt. Okay, this bitch, this girl, this woman, this person, has single-handedly destroyed the case. Good job. Good job. God works in mysterious ways. Good job. I don't think the jury will ever, I don't think they can come back from this. So I think she did it in. And you haven't even seen her husband, because boy, he's a gem too. He's already gotten on the stand, and I guess we'll take a look at him next. Surely, because you'll see that he's just as much of a douche. He's a gem. So yeah, it's brutal to watch, but I stuck it. Well, Zero, we all stuck it out somehow, but oh geez, man, intolerable. Tell you what. But we'll have to put up with her her simp ass husband tomorrow night, or next time we come in to do a show. Next time we cover this case, we're gonna check out her simp ass husband and see how he fucking pulled the same shit. And everyone, hey, everyone for the prosecution is pulling the same ass shit. This whole gang, and it's something else. It's really something else. Sorry for the headache. I have to hook up with my sister. Sounds like you'd be fast friends. Oh no, no thanks. No thanks. I go no contact. I'm glad. Well, I'm glad you're watching this case too. I think everyone else should watch this case, because this case has intense, wide, far-reaching social implications. In that, at what point do you draw the line when a large contingent of law enforcement and the prosecutor are throwing someone under the bus who doesn't deserve it? They're manufacturing evidence, they're lying about evidence, they're misleading the jury, and overall, they're trying to put a woman behind bars who possibly had zero to do with the injury and death to that gentleman, Mr. John O'Keefe. And why are they sacrificing that woman to cover this guy's death? Well, in my opinion, it's because they know 5, 10, 15 of them will go to prison for a while, and they don't want to take, they look at it like we're a bunch of cops. We don't want to go down for this. He's already dead. Nothing we can do about it. Let's just blame it on her. She's just a fucking teacher anyway. She's nothing. Anyway, good evening. That was a rough one. Gosh, headache. This woman gives me a headache. And she wants to cry victim, but it's like, look, woman, you wonder, the entire world is looking at you and saying, like, you're disgusting, and it appears that you all are lying and setting up this woman. And that's just what it looks like. And when you look at it from every angle, I mean, there's so many angles, just like Delphi, that are red flags. There's so many red flags. There's this missing section of video in a garage that would have shown something happening to her vehicle, or the tail light, something like that. There's the guy who found the pieces of the tail light the next morning, who had no reason to find them, who shouldn't even been there, who could have easily planted that evidence. There's all kind of red fucking flags. There's all kind of hearsay about what this Karen Reed allegedly said or did not say. There's all these meetings with the lead detective and investigator, whatever you want to call him, and all of the other cops and troopers. It's bad all the way around. And so it's not just this one witness that we've watched. It's the entire thing is a house of cards. And so it's my opinion. And maybe we'll see what happens with it. And we'll be covering some other cases too. I have a whole direction planned for you guys. And trust me, I'll probably lose half my subscribers within the next month. But that's good. I'd like that. So we'll see you guys later. Peace out. Thanks everyone for being here. Before you leave, please hit the thumbs up. Do me that favor. And if you're on the replay, be aware you can support the channel. We got Cash App. We got various merchandise. And there are also the super chats, super thanks, and any other way you'd like to support the channel. We appreciate that. It keeps us inspired and going. And so God bless you all. Hug your kids. Hug your wife. And hey, we live to fight another day. And that's what's important. So peace out, guys.